don't you make something profound statement tonight?
Hey, Mark.
There we are, we're live. Too late.
Good evening. This is the Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 meeting of the Finance Committee. We are at the Public Safety Complex at 576 Pleasant Street here in Paxton. We are a committee of 7, 4 is a quorum, 5 are present. One, I know for sure, sends his regrets, and one may be en route. But we have enough to open the meeting, and I declare the meeting to be open. We have as our second item, which is our first order of business, is the review of the meeting minutes on our meeting that was held 1 week ago today, March 18th. But in addition to that, although not shown on the agenda because I wasn't sure we would get them, but we did, thanks to our clerk. We also have meeting minutes of March 23rd, a Monday night meeting, a joint meeting with the Select Board and the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. So looking at the meetings of March 18 first, which everybody has been sent a copy of. Is there comments, questions, motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 18th meeting.
I'll second.
The only the only question I have is I wasn't sure that Seth was here at that meeting. He's listed as present.
He was.
Okay,
Could be that
I'll
I'm
double check.
mistaken. So,
I'll double check.
so
Okay.
motion's been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Abstentions, none. March 23rd. Those also have been sent to you, and it was a difficult
I'll make a motion.
meeting to capture because it was a combination of finance and CIPC. So I'm glad that you captured as much as you did, so our compliments.
Happy to do it.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, abstentions? None. That passes. So the next item is certain department heads or certain departments that are still needing our attention, and I think rather than do a department head, I think if we go through the items that are outstanding, and by that I mean the cost centers that are outstanding, I think we could interject some of the contribution and participation from those that attended for that reason. That would be agenda item number 3 that was sent out. Can you call that particular
number 3 up there?
email up? Do you mind, Robert, just to give us a point of reference? Sorry. And then after we do that, we may come back to this very sheet, so we can stay on this sheet if you'd like, because I do have a couple of comments to make.
Yep. I will.
So can everybody see, I think I need you to scroll to
1440.
the left or the right, I'm not sure which, but to the far left-hand side.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just getting to your. All right. So far left.
Yeah, trying to get to the deficit. Think you got a, there we go. So we have a deficit of, as you can see up there, of 276. For those that are keeping score, when we adjourned on, and that happens to be dated at the bottom, you can see a date of March 24th, which was yesterday, anticipation of today's meeting, the 25th. When we left on the 18th, our deficit was $286,000. So we're certainly heading in the right direction because it improved. and don't want to go line by line and budget by budget, but it was improved in large part that there was a change to the library budget for a small amount.
Yep.
And then there was the issue of the wastewater collection, waste collection. Glad it's not wastewater. We're collecting stormwater, we don't have to collect wastewater. But we've now reconciled that, and that was a give or take an $11,000 or $12,000 pickup.
Yep.
Don't want to get too anal and have the exact numbers, but that's the change taking us in the direction that we have right here of 276, which is not zero, but I think we can safely all say better than we thought we would be at this particular point. So now the items that are listed there, the ones that were still open. One was waste collection, which was really the issue that I just spoke about.
Correct.
The budget expense went up. I think we held it until we got to the point that the revenue would align.
Correct.
We thought there was an $11,000 to $12,000 discrepancy. That's now been fixed. So what I'd like to see with the parenthetical, it's not in parentheses, I'm sorry, but if we could get a revised local revenue sheet to see that the waste collection number is there. We see the macro number on the lead schedule, but if we could just get that updated, I don't think that should prevent our from approving this evening, but if we could just make a note to get that.
Okay.
So I think if we did not do it at the last meeting, I think there would be need to make a motion to approve 1443, which is the waste collection, which had a substantial increase.
So we did.
And I think the point was made that even though it was substantial, if we went out to bid, it might be more substantial, and the corresponding hope was that the revenue would offset it. So if we've taken care of that, we can just pass over.
Happy to move that.
We did.
We approved it.
Yeah, we
We
voted.
approved it.
We did
It was
vote
pending
last
that
week.
local revenue. So-
Correct. That was the improvement that I had to make.
So now we have the assessors' budget, which was held, and the hope was that the principal assessor would be able to join us this evening, and unfortunately, that is not the case for very personal reasons. But I think there are enough people in the room that maybe can address that, and not the least of which was the former principal assessor. Robert, do you think you want to try to walk us through that?
Sure. So I know the last time that we did go over it, just wanted to shed some more light on the data collection services, because obviously that's a big increase. Going into a reval year, you really need to make sure that all the properties are getting visited within that 10-year window. So that's something that we definitely need to work on. And we had the Division of Labor Services here, DLS, came in. They reviewed all of our, 100-card sample of our property record cards and found 2 that did not need any revisions or enhancements. So that shows how critical it is to get out there, get the proper data collected, and then that will have good impact on our new growth in town, which I know is a number that, Mark, you've brought up a lot, that you feel it's far too low. So hopefully with getting more data and getting better data, we can get that number to increase.
I thought it was too low when it was at $80,000, so I'm waving the white flag when it's at $30,000, but
Correct. So that's why this is a step in the right direction, and it is needed for our reval year. So that's why this request is in there, and I would definitely look to you to approve this budget how it's currently constructed.
So in addition, if you can scroll down a little bit, I thought she did a particularly good job with her kind of footnote
Explanations.
legend at the
Correct.
bottom.
Yep.
But she's also shared and I'm sorry it wasn't to the whole Finance Committee, I'm happy to share it with you later, a pretty compelling story to support even that.
Absolutely.
And I was sold halfway reading through the email. What she is essentially saying, present company excluded because you only had a cup of coffee there at the principal assessor, but she's basically saying for the longest of times, this assessor's office has got to be brought into the 21st century, and it's not there. And this is going to be what's needed in order to get it there, and the hope is that it's going to generate revenue. Now, people listening to that and say, yeah, generate revenue, my real estate tax is going to go up, but it's in the spirit of proper assessment and the like, and we haven't had the tools to do it. We haven't done it. She's sold me at least on that, and most of this budget I'm fully in favor of. And if anybody read that particular email, I think they'd agree. So you can ask any questions of Robert that you like, but I'm sold on that. But I do have one problem, if you don't mind my leading with my chin, and maybe you can address it. I still struggle with the committee salaries. And the argument is that they have to take tests, and even though the test is free to the test taker and to the town, there's a time element involved in it. And I don't want to, I think, Jeremy, if you don't mind my continuing, I'll do a little of both Jeremy and I. Did some research. Jeremy did the lion's share of it, so if you like it, he gets the credit. If you don't like what I'm saying, I'll take the blame. But it basically, there's 10 modules for the tests that have to be taken,
Correct.
and they're 90 minutes each, which is 900 hours. Which essentially comes down, or 900 minutes rather, which essentially comes down to 15 hours for this, preparing for the test.
Yep.
If you divide that into the number that you have up there, that's about $123 an hour, which is good work for anybody. And to go back to the 15 hours, I think that there's a number of committee members that could say, and I would be one of them, I do that in 3 weeks. And other committees members could say the same thing. And we need to be careful if we do it for this. There's the Finance Committee, there's CIPC, there's the Zoning Board of Appeals, there's the Planning Committee. Can't even begin to tell you the work that the Planning Committee and the Zoning Board of Appeals just recently came off of with the WRTA. You've got Concom, you got CRC. They've put hundreds of hours in. The Select Board used to have a stipend, and that was all taken away. There's about 10 or 11 that have been stripped, which is a poor choice of words, of that particular stipend. And my position is, unless we can restore it for all of them, I don't see the fairness of restoring it for one, preparing for a test or otherwise. And this may be unfair and unkind, but they ran for office. It's an elected position. They should have known that they were going to have to put the time in. If all of us did it in hindsight, that we volunteered, and now retroactively we want to be paid for the time we put in, I think that's the Pandora's box of unfairness on steroids. I'm not in favor of the committee salary.
The problem is that they were elected when the stipend was there. So it has since been removed while they were in office. So they didn't take the position knowing that it was going to be unpaid with that large time commitment to get certified. I'm not taking away anything from any of our boards and committees because I see how much time everyone invests. I'm just saying this particular one, we need people to get certified or else the board will not be able to conduct business if they're not certified B.
So Robert, whether that's technically a test or not, we all do research, we all do study, we all have to stay state-of-the-art in what's going on. And Tony, I apologize, I didn't include EDC in terms of all the work that they've done. I get all that, but same case could be made for all 10 others. It just doesn't seem to me to be fair. And I'd love that all the others get restored, but until all of them do, I don't see where we can single out one as being any harder, any more arduous, any more of time committing than any of the others.
Okay, this one also is responsible for the principal assessor too. So they are responsible for an employee.
Say that again, Robert?
So they're responsible for the principal assessor as well, right? For their commitment and their job performance, like that's, the principal assessor reports to the Board of Assessors.
I've made my point. Happy to make a motion.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I would like to.
Do you have a microphone, Dee?
We'll give you one.
Mark, when I first came on the Board of Assessors a long time ago, we had 3 realtors that were on that board and a principal assessor. And the way that it ran and the reason that I was asked to be on the board was no one was getting certified. They would be on the board for the 3 years, and when they had to show that they had gotten certified, they would not run again on the board. And so I was particularly asked by the head of the Board of Selectmen at the time and the town administrator if I would go on the board and absolutely promise to be certified. And it's just, it showed way back when we didn't have that stipend, that no one would take the time to take the test. And I know it says it's a 90-minute test, but I can tell you that for 10 weeks in a row, every Sunday morning from 9 till noon, I spent just doing the exam. It's a lot of studying, it's a lot of work above and beyond, you know, your regular meetings and everything else. We have to be certified, and we have to stay in that position in order to keep people certified. And that's why I was put on, and I was told point blank by Carol that at the time that, you know, don't take the position if you're not willing to get certified. That's all I can say about it.
And Dee, all that makes perfect sense. You know, don't take the position if you're not willing to get certified, but then it shouldn't be, and we'll get paid, or I won't do it until I get paid, or unless I get paid. And you just said every Sunday from 9 to noon. I think the Finance Committee can attest. Every Sunday from 9 to noon, I send out emails to the Finance Committee. We all do this,
Lot of
is my
emails.
point. We all do this. And I understand that the burden that you're carrying, my point is, it's no less than any burden than any other committee member is carrying. And yours is very, very valuable. It's no less valuable than any of the other positions that are filled. So I respect what you're saying, and certainly appreciate, and the Assessors Commission is better off with you as being a member on it, but it hasn't changed my position. Unless they're all in, I'm not all in. So
I'm just very afraid about the attrition rate there and attracting new board members with 0 stipends. It's going to be a challenge.
Can the Assessors Department function without, I'm not advocating this, but let's assume that they don't get the stipend and they resign, or they don't meet the criteria in order to get certified, and they have to step down. Does our assessor's office still function?
Well, you wouldn't have a board.
Yeah.
But you still would have a principal assessor.
But you're not, they're the ones that sign off
We're the
on all.
board is the one that makes the decision, not the principal assessor.
So who would do it in the absence? Would that defer to the select board?
I really don't know. I don't believe it does, because they're totally
Separate.
Their
separate.
unique functions, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a solution, quite frankly.
The other thing you
appreciate
lose
that.
without the board is that they can't do abatements for people, so it's just another function
Yeah,
that that
keep-
board serves.
They're the ones that are signing the abatements, they're signing the actual excise commitments, all of that.
Yeah, the principal assessor doesn't have that authority in the town at all. The board has the authority to sign or approve or reject all of the abatements and the exemptions.
So part of what I was going to ask, if Diane was here tonight, is where she came up with the number, 5532. So say $1,844 per assessor. Where
Yep.
did we generate that number first type?
So that's what it has previously been. That's what it previously was.
I think the number is an odd number because of COLAs over the years, if that's the question.
So, so the stipends going back, not last year, not the year before, so 2024
Yeah,
was this number?
I,
I can't get onto my old budget worksheets, but
okay. I can check on, does that look,
I think
Look,
that
right.
is the number that was out before.
yeah, so we
Yep.
haven't even had
Yep.
increases there.
So, and I should know this, but explain to me why it was 0 a year ago.
Because it was.
Because it was taken away.
What happened?
Okay, and we function as an assessor's office. It was taken away. It was taken away on all of them. So
But
why
that
not-
was
So why
because-
not, hold on one second, why not add it back for all of them? If that's what we'd like to do, why not add it back for all of them, which I'm not advocating we do that? I think there's been a sacrifice made by all kinds of committees and all kinds of volunteers. I don't see where we should single out just one. Compelling points made aside, I don't see any mass general law, I don't see any legal stipulation that absolutely mandates that we do that. And if that exists, I'd like to see it. Until it exists, I think that we're creating a completely unfair landscape.
Would you
By adding
consider-
one back and not the others.
Excuse me, Mark. I think the reason that we decided to put it back in was because we lowered the budget by so much money this year and felt that if we could live within the budget at a lower rate, that then, we should put it back in.
Dee, you just said that you lowered the budget by so much, it went up by $11,000.
Yeah, but the $11,000 is solely the MS and, I don't know what.
It's the
type of-
No, I understand that, but I wouldn't want you to walk away with saying that you added it back because you lowered your budget.
But
You increased your budget,
So-
and you increased this.
so she's saying that we decreased the actual principal assessor's
Right.
salary. So that went from 46 down to the 37 and a half.
because the hours were reduced from 27 to 20,
Correct.
okay?
So that was a major reduction.
I know, but the hours,
Yeah.
as Jeremy just pointed out, the hours were reduced.
Correct.
Right.
So we put it as 0 last year because of the financial distress we had in the budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Don't we have the same problem this year? We're 280 over the
We're,
mark.
yeah, 280. We're not the 1.1 that we
Still low.
were cutting 2% of our budget last
Yeah,
year.
so, I mean, you got to go for an override. If the override doesn't get passed, you're going to be cutting.
So if you're going to take away the whole stipend, would you consider having a stipend for that first term so the person gets their certification and then it comes off?
If you're asking me personally, no. Yeah, if you're asking the committee, I'll certainly defer to them. My position, I hope, is very clear. It's not fair to 8 or 9 or 10 other committees who work just as hard, do just as much work, are just as valuable, have put in the time commitment, and their stipends were cut, including the select board.
I completely understand, and I'm not discrediting anything anyone's doing. I'm just trying to support my principal assessor and the board of assessors.
Yep.
So,
If there's no further discussion, I'll be happy to make a motion. I would move, if you could scroll down to the bottom, I would move that we accept the budget as proposed here of $95,715 minus the committee salaries of $5532. That's the motion.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Is there any thought of just dropping it to something lower, or you want to see it?
That's certainly a consideration, but then it's kind of, arbitrarily you pick a lower number and somebody could come back and say, well, okay, well, why don't you add back our stipend, but we'll put that in at a lower number. I just think it creates as much as we'd like to do it, I just think it creates an unfairness across the board. That's,
If we didn't have to go for an override, I'm all for it. But we do, right now, so,
It's fair enough.
yep.
so, motion's been made and second. All in favor of the motion? Allow public comment? Yeah, Mr. Bagdis?
Just a,
You
Neil,
need
just get
a microphone? You probably don't, but could you get one?
I got you. Wasn't money reinstated after the override last fall? I mean, I don't know how much, but I remember sitting here saying some of the stipends were reinstated. So but was it only for the assessors? I mean, just kind of tell me where all that went. I know there were 29 departments that were affected by that, that were helped by that. And I'm just trying to figure out, did the assessors benefit from that?
No.
He says no.
The override added $19,365 to the assessors department.
Department.
The department.
But what could they do with that?
They could do whatever they wanted to do with it.
So unfortunately, where it was cut from other areas, we had to allocate the funds there instead of the stipends, because we were still not budgeted appropriately.
Okay, so I guess then I kind of agree with, just as a member, a public citizen here, just saying, I kind of agree where you are. We have an override coming, and if there wasn't an override, then I would say, yeah, put it back in. But at this point, every dollar's going to need to be tabulated or accounted for. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, which is to essentially reduce the budget by the amount of the committee salary, $5532. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we do a roll call?
Wenzel abstain.
So we're going to do a roll call. Jeremy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Mark's aye. Tony? Aye.
Abstain.
Jeff abstains. Okay, thank you. So the next one we have is the library, which is Department 1610.
So that's the number we're going with, right? 90,183.
Yep.
I didn't do the math.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
all
it.
right. So that's
That's
I don't have a
correct.
calculator or
I
a
got it.
computer.
That's it.
Looks roughly right.
That's right.
Yep.
So, Robert, can you scroll down to the bottom and get us to 217?
Yep.
So there was a presentation last week. There was just a little bit of misalignment between the two. That's now been squared away, and it's actually been reduced by roughly $1,800.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve the library budget?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you like to speak to it? Anybody wants to speak to it?
No, just if
You
anyone has
might,
questions.
looks like it's going to go through. You might want to don't talk yourself out of a sale, yeah. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, it's fine, just if anyone has questions. or
nope.
that's all.
Thank you very much. So, DPW. Can we call that up?
Yep.
So you recall that we may have actually approved this, and we decided to revisit it a week ago. And suggestion was made, almost in the form of a motion. I'm not sure we went that formal, but to add back a position. DPW currently is 2 positions down. One is being advertised, and the other's just been out of the budget and never came back to be added to. And the sense was to add back that $55,000. I don't know the exact title of the position, but to fully staff the DPW that has been unfortunately understaffed for as long as I can remember. Not to mention under-equipped and undersupplied and under-buildinged. So good suggestion was made whether or not the director of DPW would like to get paint the streets and have some guardrails rather than the position. And Robert has sent me an email indicating that the DPW director has opted for the new position at $55,000. Hold that thought for a minute. I think some of us raised the question whether or not guardrails and painting were eligible for Chapter 90 funds, and did a little additional research because CIPC did a lot of research about what those funds could be used for, and we identified some equipment vis-a-vis some trucks. The other consideration is that you can use it for consulting services, which last time I looked, guardrails are not consultants. And then there's other. And I couldn't wait to get to that page thinking, there it is. It's going to say guardrails and street painting, but it says other as long as they are to benefit transportation assets, like a garage, a shed, parking facilities, but not guardrails and not line painting. So I don't think that's an option. So the only thing is in play right now is to consider increasing this particular budget by $50,000, and somebody's got to help me in terms of what the benefits would be associated with that, and whether the number is 55,000 or if it's 50,000 plus a percentage for benefits. I'll defer to the town administrator, or otherwise, because we made the suggestion a week ago and now we've come back with the answer, I would propose that we increase the DPW director's budget, notwithstanding that we have a deficit, but we increase it by $55,000. So that's kind of in the form of a motion.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what I've lost track. Is the updated number, it's moving around, but what's the updated number with the 55,000?
So you want the deficit number with 50,
No, the DPW.
with
budget.
55K in
Yeah,
there?
yeah, added in, yep. There you go. Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion if you, okay, I'm going to move that we approve the DPW budget at $846,686.
96.
690.
What's that? Is it not?
696.
Too far away. I can't say. I need some help. What Julia said.
Would you like to move your seat up a little closer?
I need new glasses is what it is.
Motion's been made,
I'll second.
seconded. Any discussion?
Plus benefits?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Notwithstanding what it added to the deficit, congratulations to the DPW to finally get fully ramped up. So,
Mark, do we need to revisit, well, I'll defer to Robert maybe, do we need to revisit employee benefits now that that has been made, that change has been made?
So we don't know if that employee is gonna actually take benefits
Exactly.
or if they have a family. There's a lot of variables there.
Right, right. So we typically budget our employee benefits so that there's an extra slot or two in health insurance. And I just don't know where we stand with that, if we need to consider adding a slot or not.
That's a great question. So we have an insurance advisory committee meeting tomorrow morning, but I was going to advise tonight that we approve that budget because we're not going to be making any large changes to affect it. At least that's what we're predicting.
well, let's do this. Let's approve the budget contingent upon you coming back with a benefits recalculation. I fear because of a discussion that took place Monday night that we're going to talk about a little bit later, that we're probably going to meet next Wednesday to totally button this down. So if you could get that update
Sure.
for us. I don't want to hold the budget, but I think if we have to reopen it because of the benefits, so we could do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Make sense? I'm going to skip over employee benefits for a moment and ask if we can go to the Bay Path School. And I don't know that there's a full
There isn't a
tab
tab.
for that, but somewhere in the far right-hand margin, the budget, the amount that is in the budget and the amount that was presented by the superintendent on Monday is $771 and
1,000.
766.
771,766.
$771,766.
Correct.
That's been in the budget for a long time.
Yes.
What they submitted early on has remained static,
Correct.
and the majority of it is what's called a minimum local contribution, which is the state telling them how much they got to pass on to us.
All of it
So,
is that.
so we can hate it as much as we like, and it is a substantial increase, but it got mandated to them to mandate to us. Is that a fair assessment, Jeff?
Yep, exactly right on.
So we don't have much say. So, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. There a second?
I'll second.
Second. I think we're going to have one abstention, but all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? One. Very good. So if you look at the schedule that we have up there, the budgets to be reviewed, can you go back to that schedule, Robert? Sorry.
Oh, for the email?
Yeah, sorry to do that to you. Essentially, we've skipped over employee benefits and Police 210 and Wachusett Regional School District. And here's why I'd like to hit the pause on those three one more time. Wachusett Regional School District spoke Monday night, and there's been a revised budget that we have adjusted our budget for. As it turns out, the revised budget was clarified on Monday that it's a proposed revised budget. And I think that the superintendent spoke in favor of it. I don't know if he said it was 90% certain or 99% certain or some number in between, but it was in the 90s. But the truth of the matter is it's not been voted on. So I think for us, I think we need to wait till Monday until it's voted on and see how that plays out in our own budget. The hope is that it will be voted on because what was proposed, we've already taken out of our budget. And if it gets unapproved by the Wachusett Regional School District, which I doubt very, very much it will be, but I don't think we should be voting on chance. We should be voting on certainty. I think we should wait until that comes into us, and we should know Monday night or Tuesday morning.
So I think that's good.
Any comments regarding that?
Nope.
So the other is the employee benefits and the police kind of tie a little bit together. And I'm going to ask if I can ask you, Robert, to pull up what essentially is email number 4. There was a thing regarding special revenue funds. So here's the issue. If we look at the top, special revenue funds, the latest one that's available is 12/31/2025. This is available on the town's website. Go to Accountants Department, go to Reports, and you're going to see 6 or 8 reports, and this happens to be one of them. And there's several in the room, Robert included, which I've sent email after email after email saying we need to get these special revenue funds reports updated because the Finance Committee and the Capital Improvements Planning Committee, which was only the view and the venue from which I was coming from, there could be other uses, I'm sure there are, needed to have these updated. And they used to be updated on a monthly basis. And for the longest of time, there's been some transition in accounting and finance positions at Town Hall, and they weren't updated on a monthly basis. In fact, if you scroll down a little bit further, you're going to see one that is highlighted, AMC Fund.
Mark, could I request that we take a brief recess? I'd like to.
Let me make one particular more comment, if I can, Julia.
Sure.
What I don't want to do is because there's been posting about meetings, meetings tomorrow regarding that, I don't want to go there. That's not my issue here. My issue is town related. And many of you have seen those postings. That's the Select Board's business. It's not the Finance Committee's business. What I'm basically looking at here, though, is that you can see that there's a beginning balance of $65,000. That's not the beginning balance as of November 30th. That's the beginning balance when the last report was issued, and the last report was issued on June 30th. So we don't need to call it up, but if you called up the June 30th balance, you'd see $65,000. So the issue is that in the months that ensued, if you look in the revenue column, so that would be July, August, September, October, November, December. That's 6 months. In 6 months, we would have realized $52,000 worth of revenue on a about an $800,000 deficit, $822,000 budget. We probably should have received 6 months of $65,000, roughly $411,000. We didn't receive that. unless this is on the accrual basis and not the cash basis, but we only received 52, but we paid out 428,631 without receiving that money. So the town budget issue, not the Anna Maria meetings that are going to be held tomorrow night, how did that money get paid? How do those, and I'm sure those are salaries, so how did those salaries get paid if there was no money that was coming in?
That's something I can get back to you on.
Excuse me?
I said I can get back to you on that.
Well, I'm sure you can, but it's a pretty important question. Because I can tell you what didn't happen. Typically, the answer would be is you transferred funds. But there's only three types of transfers. There's a year-end transfer, but the year-end hasn't arrived. So there's no money came in from a year-end transfer. There are internal transfers that can be transferred between a department if they want to buy a fire hose rather than a truck tire. They can do that. They can transfer the money between themselves. And then the third types of transfer is a reserve fund transfer. So no transfers were made in order for that to be subsidized. And the question becomes, how did that occur? How did those funds get paid? I think the $428,000 predominantly would be compensation. So I think the compensation was paid. The question again, which I think you need to come back to us is, but I want the question to be out there, how was those compensation paid if the money wasn't either transferred or received? That's an important question.
Okay. I will get an answer for you.
Say again?
I said I will get an answer for you.
Okay. Because we're looking at a deficit, and the question is the deficit bigger than we are planning for? That's really the issue. We added back a $55,000 number where we took some salaries out, and it's a very attractive, deficits are never attractive, but in terms of what we predicted, it's very attractive, and what we're trying to guard against and plan against is bigger. And if you're telling me that it's got to wait until further discussion outside of the Finance Committee, I understand that, but I think the question needs to be out there and asked. And I think you'll agree, that's a pretty fair question to ask.
I might be able to add some
Yeah.
clarity to that. So these special revenue accounts, a lot of them are like grants. Special revenue accounts can be deficit spent as long as there's a promise for the balance.
It is a receivable, so as long as that entire amount is paid by September 30th, then it does not affect free cash, anything like that.
Right.
So a question I don't want to ask is, the presumption is that it was paid by December 31st, and I suspect that it was not.
I can get back to you on that.
Okay, which speaks to the point of the value of having these produced every single month, because if you look at this at the end of the year, not just this particular fund, millions of dollars go through look at them, there's probably 50 of them. Millions of dollars go through these particular reports. The need to have full disclosure and have those published every single month, not every 6 months. The way to do it is every month. That would be full disclosure. The way to do it every 6 months is not. So this is problematic. And I may be speaking for myself, but I don't think I am. But I may be the only one that's speaking out. This is a problem. And we need to get really down detailed answers to it and defer to you to have time to do that, but I wanted to raise the question nevertheless.
If I could say something. In all fairness, as to why you haven't had a report monthly, Mark, I would just like to address the fact that we are just now proving the month of December in with the treasurer and the accountant. And so she cannot provide for you a report if we're not in proof. We have spent the last 7 months getting through 2025 and on to 2026 with correction of errors and stuff that just had not been done. So in all fairness for Larissa, she cannot provide for you anything until we've proved that month, and we've just finished December 31st.
Yeah, and I, if anything I've said ends up slanting in that direction, I would say that my relationship and interaction at Town Hall, Larissa is probably the very best. I'm sure the town clerk would disagree with that, but that's not really my point. I understand that there's people overworked, there's positions that have not been filled, but there's still an obligation to the taxpayers and to the finance committee and to other people to get an answer to this. And I just wanted to pose the question, and that's what I've done.
Right.
So hopefully you can come back with a good
And I will
answer.
say that since, and I'm not sure whether it was February or something, there have been some large deposits that have come in for the police department from Anna Maria.
It's good to know. So hopefully we can get that caught up.
Thank you.
Okay. So the last thing that I have, any comments from the Finance Committee?
Not at this time.
Nope. So the last thing that I have is, we spoke about this last week, and I just want to plant the seed for everybody to, that's the fifth, number 5 email that was sent out.
This one, right? So,
And everybody's also been sent a copy of this under email number 5. Last week in some of the discussion when now Lieutenant Thorpe was here, we talked about the Anna Maria contract, which I'm going to, again, not necessarily go there per se, but the idea was floated to have that particular budget be actually part of the town budget. And I'm not trying to blame, but I'm trying to give credit. David made the most profound point of all of this discussion that's ever taken place, and I think in the last 3 years, and that is, those officers there are town employees. So why not have this as a town budget? And I'm for consideration, and maybe the vote is not tonight, maybe you need time to digest it, but I'm making 5 recommendations here, the first of which is that Anna Maria Police Department budget be a separate budget in our particular town budget, aligned with the police department. Police department budget is account 1210. I'm recommending that it be brought over as account 1212. Somebody in motion number 2 may balk at that and say, well, that's going to add to the deficit. So number 2 is there's revenue that accompanies that. The revenue is actually supposed to be exactly the same as the expense. So I'm saying, so that it will have no budget impact, bring over the revenue in the form of local revenues. Similar to the waste collection as an expense in revenue, no net impact. Obviously to the town payers and the like, I don't want to dismiss that, but the net effect on the deficit would be 0, because in item number 1, the expenses come over, and items number 2, the revenue comes over. Item number 3 is that the agreement that exists, which expires, by the way, on June 30th of this year, June 30th, 2026, that calls for the budget to be prepared in January of every year. So that would be January of '26. Last week, it was mentioned that it's not yet complete. So my suggestion is, as a placeholder, which is the actual quote in motion number 3, is that we bring over the '26 budget, just in the revenue, just as a placeholder. Number 4 is, earlier it was made mention, and I think to Julia's credit, she made mention that the existing agreement that we have is called a grant agreement. It's technically really not a grant agreement, it's a pay-for-services agreement, and I'm suggesting if the structure of it, by calling it a grant agreement, precludes any of the items in motions number 1, 2, and 3, when we are renewing the particular contract, that we call it a memorandum of understanding. And you might say, well, why would we do that? And I would say that there's a similar memorandum of understanding, almost exactly the same, with the police department that exists with the fire department. So not making precedents here, we're just making them alike, and that way that would open the door for it to come back. And then the 5th one is my last Hail Mary that I continuously say, that there's got to be a better flow and better transparent structure of this particular agreement, and I'm suggesting that an ad hoc committee be devised, created, 2 members of the Select Board, 2 members of the Finance Committee, 2 members from Anna Maria College, and let's get the budget together and then make it part of our town budget. Might be premature because you only sent it today at around 5 o'clock, but I wanted to get it out there, and I'm more than happy to hit the pause and address these next week. But I wanted you to know that at least 2 of these have been talked ad nauseum. And now I think it might be time to really take a close look at this particular whole situation. Not the least of which it was happy news to indicate that money was coming in, but for 6 months money wasn't coming in. And who knew, and what happened, and how was that paid for, and maybe a little bit more monthly transparency, we might be able to affect that, know about it, cure it, address it, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't seem that played out in the last 6 or 8 months, in my estimation. And we just went to the townspeople with an override. We may be coming back to them with another override. We owe it to them to make sure that this is tightened up as tight as it possibly can. And I, for one, don't feel that it is at the moment. So I'm happy to defer it to next week, but you've got it, and I think we'll take it up as an order of business and address it. And it could be that you vote them all in, you vote some of them in, or you vote none of them in, but I didn't want to leave anything on the table that this is not only what I'm thinking, is that several of you have spoken to me and emailed me and called me and spoken about some of this, and here it is in black and white on one sheet of paper. So enough said.
I'd like to follow up. We had a discussion earlier where we added a DPW position, so it's a budgeted position, but it definitely raised a concern. Does our insurance cover that? Because that person may want insurance. Similar situation here. We have a budget line item to support town employees who serve under the Anna Maria part of the revenue coming in, agreement coming in, and the question is, I'm sure our insurance also is set up to cover them. Maybe it's not, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume that it is. The same question should be asked. Does our insurance have a block of funding or allocation that would cover these employees? Okay. Does it? I mean, that's a...
These employees are.
Yes, there are employees, so they're already accounted for there.
Okay.
Yep.
So we got a little business to do to next week, for next week. Hopefully it will all come to fruition, and next Wednesday, if you don't mind one more meeting, we can wrap it up, as they say. That's the hope. I don't think we're quite there. We might be we're certainly in the red zone. We might actually be on the 1 yard line, but I don't think we're in the end zone for this evening.
I thought you said the red zone.
That's what I thought he said too.
Could be the res that.
There's that too.
Yeah.
There's that.
Mark, you cover the cemetery. I got a yellow one.
We approved cemetery.
Cemetery mention's been made that might still be open.
I'm also concerned that we still have a very large deficit and we haven't done anything to balance that yet. So are we going to do all of that next week as well?
Say that again, Robert?
So we have a very large deficit
Yes.
right now. Are we going to make corrections so that we budget the worksheet so that it actually balances out?
Well, I think that's to be decided for next week. I mean, in order to balance it out,
Yeah.
we need to go back into all these budgets and pick my number, $300,000 worth of cuts. I don't think there's an appetite to do that.
Well, don't
I
we
think we're
have to
gonna
do
have-
that, though?
I think we're going to have a budget, but I don't think it's going to be a balanced budget. I don't want to get ahead of the committee, but
I think that's.
I don't.
But don't we have to have a budget with an override? So if you have $350,000, say, for the override, if that doesn't get approved, we need to have
Like a
another.
contingency budget.
Yeah,
We need to have
contingency
that.
budget.
That is balanced. though.
Which
Correct.
was, if I may?
We can go there following a vote, though.
Yeah, that was, and there was some discussion about that probably a month ago. I think Dave and I and others were talking about a contingency budget, and it was there wasn't an appetite for it at the time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
I
ask
mean,
because we're doing the warrant articles.
Yeah.
Want to make sure.
Again, and to be clear, I'm generally in favor of those. I think I'm a contingency planning guy for a living. So I generally favor those, but when it was suggested, there wasn't an appetite for it. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest it at this moment in time. I think the question really needs to be, if the committee is leaning toward an override, do you want to start that conversation, or do you want to wait and have that conversation next week? And then, if the committee doesn't want to have an override, then we need to discuss the possibility of cuts. But
Finding that.
if the lean is that we're going to go for an override, then I think you wait and see if that
Yeah,
passes.
exactly.
Okay.
That's my theory. Is that,
Yeah.
notwithstanding that's what you do for a living, but doing two budgets simultaneously.
No, I agree, yeah.
So this is the one we
Yeah.
want, but this is contingency. I found it's difficult enough the way we're doing it, very, very complicated. So I think we arrive at a number, and if it happens to be an override, and that's our final decision, if the override fails, then we come back and take a look at all 43 cost centers. That's my way of thinking, which I think would uncloud the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, no disagreement from a budget perspective. My only point was we did.
And I think a lot of again, learning from what we learned last year, where we had a contingency budget.
Yes.
We ended up cutting so much, it was painful. We had to,
Yeah.
we had to put things back. And it cost us more to have these multiple meetings, I think we had to have another election, we had to have another, 2 more town meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my own personal feeling is we were miles away from what we have now. Like, we were in really rough shape last year. Override, never a good word to say, never something to think about, but this number, I think, is, I would not feel uncomfortable as a committee if we recommended an override at an amount like this.
Right.
If we were asking for $5 million, that's a tough ask. But without cutting services, without taking employees off the books, contractual obligations for COLAs and step increases and things like that, we haven't cut anything, right? This is really, no positions were cut.
Yep.
Minimum increases across the board. I think we've done a pretty good job. I mean, this is about as lean as I would want to see it. I know what you're saying.
I
know you
I
feel
definitely
the
don't
same
want
way.
it cut. Yeah, I just want,
Trying to get this to zero,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's going to be next to impossible.
It's always, yes, and it would be not pretty.
No, it wouldn't be palatable, I don't think.
Yeah, right.
I just see what it cost us last year, and it was
Okay.
detrimental to everyone's feelings in the town.
Oh, morale, yeah, goes, and
You know, and again,
I agree. I was just asking because it isn't balanced, so I was just asking.
I think going through this exercise, a lot of us, in our heads, if we have to come back and do that, most of us know where we're, have an idea where we want to start since we've been through this,
Right.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
multiple times now. But that process, I just think, goes a lot quicker than this process if we need to get there.
I mean, not to,
It's a good suggestion. Like, I'm with you too. I'm a huge fan of having a contingency budget.
Well, because that could then allow you to not have an additional town meeting too, right?
Yeah, I think where we are this year, we can get there a lot quicker if we need to.
Yes, yep.
Than last year because it's not as big a hill to climb. So.
And honestly, I think the contingency planning should be with the departments.
Yeah.
Who can
Yeah.
then come back
That's
to us
right.
and make their
Yeah.
recommendations.
Yeah, and if it gets out there too far ahead of time, then it gets misconstrued on
yeah.
places that don't always have the best information.
Agreed.
Not to call out Facebook, but.
Can we go back to the cemetery to Jeremy's point? I admit, I thought we were there.
I have it, it's yellow.
It's yellow. It does look like it was approved on 3/18.
We did approve it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
I
certain.
thought we did, yeah.
Okay, my bad, sorry.
That's just on me. It's
My-
on-
yeah, no, I might tab at it yellow too.
Because remember, we talked about the headstones and we did the research that
Yes,
the
Okay.
perpetual care doesn't cover.
I apologize. My bad.
So we're good.
Okay.
Is there any public comment? None. Is there a motion, is there any old business?
No.
New business?
Yes, new business.
New business.
Meeting scheduled for next Wednesday.
We're meeting next Wednesday.
Okay.
So that's going to be,
Hopefully, there'll be some, certainly some feedback regarding Wachusett Regional School
April
District.
1st, April Fool's Day.
I don't know if that's the greatest day to have our last
Have a
budget
finance committee meeting.
meeting. Yeah.
There's a myriad of jokes you could go in that direction, but we'll leave it right there.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? None. I mean, noes, none. Abstentions, none. We stand adjourned. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Was that? Yeah.